Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the modern market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to ideally make some or a lot of money on the internet. Loaded up for discussion today, we have Tether investing $100 million into Latin American agricultural and food giant. Next, court rules against CFTC in its attempt to prevent prediction markets in the US. That's good news for prediction markets all round. And finally, Pudgy Puppets rip 100% in 24 hours to a $1.5 million market cap. That's a bit more on the degen NFT side. We've also got the latest on all price action on crypto and NFTs, and some discussion on how best to go about raising money from Paul Graham himself. So stay tuned for that. Today, we've got Legendary and Bread in the co-host seats, and we're ready to get into it. But before we do that, friends, just a reminder that unfortunately, nothing that we say here is financial advice, because it would be illegal and we don't know anything for sure anyway. So please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Bread, it's Monday. It's the 9th of September. This room
You
of
hear
yours.
that? Dude, he came to me first. See, I'm back now. He doesn't want to throw me to the bottom, back in the groove.
I
What's
did
up?
this last week as well. I threw Sammy first one day, just to make sure you're paying attention. But I'm noticing on screen here, remember, we're live on X, live on YouTube video too. Some interesting environment that you're working at the moment, Brett.
You've accurately called out my barren living situation. Yes. As we all know, Singapore is around the corner. As we all know, if you've attended last time, I said I'm selling everything. I'm selling everything, and I'm going to Singapore. I'm literally selling everything. Going to Singapore, doing that for a couple months.
They said
And then when I
sell
come
in
back, I'm
May and
moving.
go away, Brett. You are
Yeah, fuck
doing
this
the
up.
opposite.
Yeah, I stayed put, suffered through the chop down thing, and then now I'm selling when everything's maybe hopefully coming back around. I don't know. Everywhere I see is everyone just like everything sucks until elections. So it'll probably continue to suck. Maybe this time it'll suck while I'm abroad.
Very nice. Very nice perspective. Sell in September and go to Singapore. That is Bread's
Singapore,
outlook.
Singapore,
Singapore,
we
September.
got it.
Yep, that's what we're all doing. I'm pretty excited. I leave on Friday. I'm very, very excited about that. Legendary, how are you feeling about Singapore? It's coming up pretty soon. What are we going to do there? We have no modern market plans. Maybe we should. I don't know.
And GM, definitely need to do another in real life event there. But I was in a good mood. But I realized the market is that bad that Brett literally had to sell everything to be able to go to Singapore, and it's a bit depressing if you think about it like that.
Yeah, he's saying that it's about the Singapore, it's the move, it's some strategic IRL positioning. And actually, Brad,
It's just capitulation, is what it is.
How many meme coins are down at the moment? Be honest. Is that what's going on? I know Friendtech shutting down, and you were a big Friendtech bull. Is that what's really happening here?
Dude, yeah, so that was wild. So everyone said that like there is still a route for them with like they can go to Uniswap play, right? Like Uniswap has Uniswap, the protocol that makes money, which is kind of what Friendtech does now. And then there's the front end that makes money, Uniswap Labs, right? Just purely if you go to their website, you can make money. Friendtech can kind of still do that because of how their contracts are built out. If you trade on their website, they can still make money. I don't think they will, but whatever. But yes, everything's down. I actually had a lot of people ask me questions about like positioning, scared, whatever, and it's hard for me to quantify the level of fucks that I don't give really about price action for a lot of these people. It's like Jay, right? JPEG, big Solana guy, whatever, big trader, asking me questions, what's your feeling on the market? I'm like, I really don't give a fuck. Like it's going up into the right long term. I don't care.
Makes it quite challenging to run the show at points when I'm trying to throw to you to get your view in the market, and it's
bro.
it's
Have you seen my stuff? I'm nerd fighting about like Ethereum roadmap. I don't care about like, oh my god, BTC broke the 20-week WMA, whatever. Like, guys, chill. Like everything's uncertain right now. My positions have been ossified, honestly, for 6 months plus. I haven't touched the thing and made a trade in that long. Like, whatever. Like, yeah, maybe I'll cut off some. Like, I killed Bowden. Bowden deserved to die. Did that. But like outside of that, cool, whatever. Like Arrow's doing cool. I'm gonna write a report on that. If they're kind of dominating, I have a position there. Awesome. It's down from where my price was, but still bullish underlying fundamentals. Like whatever.
Yeah, it's funny when you kind of like reflect on your activity year to date. I A good like lagging indicator for me is when my accountant calls me. He gives my transaction to someone else to do the work for him. When he calls me after it's been
Do
done
they
and
watch your
says,
wallets?
"Pardon."
Do they watch your wallets? Like, do they see like,
Oh,
all
they
right,
don't
V
watch them
check
like
you?
live, but they have
Okay,
like
like
all
you're
the
spinning up a lot
transactions.
of transactions, bro. Take it easy. Like, we can't keep track of what you're doing. Like,
Well, yeah, because they obviously bill me normally, but then after a certain quarter, they'll say, "So, there's a bit more activity last quarter, then, right?" Is that fair to say? And that's the most like diplomatic way they say it, as if they're
you
about to try to
scrambling
charge
over
me
there,
more.
buddy?
Yeah, and I was like, "Don't worry, don't worry. The summer's been much quieter," which I think, to your point, it has. Like the last few months, I don't even know where the ledger is. It's just not been kind of transacting as much. But look, as
Options are way more straightforward. My accountant goes like, "You are the most complex case that we have."
Bro, I've seen your wallets. You're fucked up.
yeah,
A
I
lot
agree.
of transactions.
Too many.
Mm.
Record-setting transactions, I remember on Blast. But look, let's get into it. As usual, we have a variety of things. It's a lot of interesting stories on the day today. Maybe the market itself is a bit quieter, but a lot of good stories to get into. Let's start with the price action and the headlines, as usual, from the snapshot, which is pinned up top if you're listening in the Twitter Spaces. Starting with Bitcoin, which is just up 1%. At 55,000 United States dollars. ETH is pretty much flat at 2.3K, and Solana is down 1% at around $129. In terms of the headlines themselves, Tether has invested $100 million into Latin American agricultural and food giant. Details from Wu Blockchain, where they said Tether has acquired a 9.8% stake in Latin American agricultural giant Adecoagro for $100 million to diversify its investments into the agriculture and food sectors. It is a major milk producer in Argentina. It manages more than 193,000 hectares of sugarcane crops in Brazil, producing refined sugar and ethanol. The FUD with Tether will really never end. People will never accept that they are legit. And I'm not necessarily guaranteeing that they are legit either,
I
but
think they're like
it's
a
quite a
great case
significant
of like
investment.
fake it till you make it kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, it
I
could
don't
be.
I don't want to be like a, whatever Luna fudder like bull. Like, everyone does that shit with Athena. Like, oh my god, Luna crashed. Everything's gonna crash like Luna. Like, hot take. I think Luna could have survived had they actually got that last little bit into position. That last move they were trying to make where they were attacked. I
Mhm.
think what they made could have been like a slower unwind that was like healthy, whatever. But the crash happened because they were attacked whenever they're pivoting because it's a public ledger, whatever. Hot take. I think they could have survived. I think Tether's similar, where like no one really knew what was going on, but because it was kind of so obfuscated, they were allowed to like entrench themselves into U.S. debt. Now they're doing stuff into like Southern America. Like, now they're literally so embedded in the global financial system that like everyone has a financial interest in them not dying. And I think that like, okay, they win. They made 400 billion or whatever it was like last quarter. They win.
I'm open to that argument. We'll get into that in a little bit more in just a little bit. Just to complete the headlines today, court rules against the CFTC in its attempt to prevent prediction markets in the US. So CoinDesk has said that Kalshi, a US regulated prediction market platform, won its federal lawsuit against the CFTC over a plan to offer contracts on which party control would control each house of Congress after the November election. Although the CFTC could appeal, Kalshi, which had been locked out of this year's election betting boom while the case was pending, can now grab a sliver of that action. And then finally, on the more degen side, on the NFT side, Pudgy Puppets, which I think someone showed on this show last week at some point, rip 100% in 24 hours, only to a $1.5 million market cap. So maybe it's a bit rogue even putting that as a headline, but it came up big on the NFT front, which I guess kind of trade differently or might have
That
more different rules,
that
but
speaks more to how barren the NFT front is than it does to like how good the
potentially.
opportunity was.
Exactly. A couple of notable sales from around the space. Xcopy Pump King 9.3, Xcopy iRoller 13.5, Xcopy editions clearly still very, very desirable. And this wonderful Doodles cat selling for 26.5 ETH, which I'm showing on the screen here. That is the price action. Those are the headlines. Legendary. Should we head over to our NFT marketplace partner, Mintify, see what is going on that side?
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the state of NFTs. JPEGs are pretty much flat, to put it in one word. Bored Apes are up 0.8%, almost at a 12 ETH floor, basically flat over the last 7 days.
Although
Pudgy's,
Ape is moving, people were like, I saw people
Mm.
posting that.
yeah,
Mm.
Ape is hitting the timeline again. That's true. Pudgy's a flat 10.3 ETH floor. It's down 6%, 0.6%, sorry, over the last 24 hours, down 4% over the last 7 days. Azuki's are at a 4.55 ETH floor, down 2% over the last 24 hours, down a bit more, down 7% over the last 7 days. Milady's still in this little downward trend, but basically flat over the last day at a 3.3 ETH floor, still down 7% over the last 7 days. In terms of two other collections that I want to quickly take a look at, we have Nakamigos actually up 42% over the last 7 days. 16% of that is over the last 24 hours. 10 ETH volume, so 70, 60, 70-ish of them moved. If we talk about market caps, still a 6.7 mil market cap.
Yeah, aren't
So
they really large? They're like 20K supply, something like that.
yeah, there's I think 20K of them. Let's see. Yes, 20K supply. And then Quirkies, I think we brought them up
We
1 or
did.
2 weeks ago. They are still moving up another 10% over the last 24 hours. That is of 17 ETH volume, so 16 of them sold, and sitting at a 1.08 ETH floor.
I like it. Anything else catching your attention on that side, Leonard? Those are some quick call outs. Anything interesting to you in particular?
In terms of the NFTs or the more general market?
Either.
Predict.fun, definitely
Okay.
been pretty active on that over the weekend. It's interesting to see the volume
How does
increasing,
it feel?
like a carbon copy of Polymarket.
Mm.
And
It's
how do we feel about it being a carbon copy?
mm,
Fine
mm,
with it, as long as it's going to pay out potentially.
not too good, to be honest. Like, I do like the initial volume, but the question is, how will the platforms evolve? I like it from the perspective that there's a bit of competition for Polymarket. It seems that, and I don't know if you've seen that, that a fundraising number is circulating with that. I saw Mickey from Arcadia, I think it was, posting about that.
Mm.
Let me see if I can find that real quick. Where's Mickey? There
I
he
was in
is.
the incentives weren't big enough for me to really like dive in heavy. I saw it and I was like, okay, it was like 800,000 cold in like a month or so, and it's like what, 6 grand or some shit. It's like yeah, but I'm not gonna like be fighting people for that.
So Mickey was saying Polymarket private round just came across my desk at a $1.5 billion valuation. 99% of the volume is politics related. What's going to happen to Polymarket after the election? Not going to get into this discussion. We had it last week. However, his volume calculation I found quite interesting. So he's saying they have done well over 2 billion in total volume. Not sure if correct, but I heard profit is around 5% of volume. This means they've made over 100 million profit, which does justify a 15x multiple, especially in the sector. Let's say volume decreased 90% after the election. Again, I don't think this is going to happen, but let's run with the post for the moment. That's still $10 million a year in profit. And then he's like including betting markets gain popularity, becoming as big as Vegas, 300 mil wagered per day, yada yada yada.
But yeah, I did see some people asking though, like, are they definitely making 5%? Where are they making the 5% from? Because I thought
Yeah, they straight up said no fees, right? Like that was
yeah,
like
they said no
there are no
fees.
fees. I love you.
Yeah, they don't have fees right now. They don't really make, like, they can't make money on any kind of spread. That just wouldn't work out to my understanding. Maybe it's what they want to make in the future. They want to find a way to grab 5% of that, but I don't see them 5% making. I don't see them making 5% as of right now.
If they existed on Blast, they could just have all that money go into their back pocket for the yield. But alas, I don't know where they'd be making that money.
True, but they should make money off the volume, not off the, like, the volume rotates way more often than the basically like
Yeah,
total
pump
protocol
style.
assets under management. So it will be interesting if they're gonna make those 5% happen and how. But yeah, this has been on my mind a bit.
Yeah, that's interesting stuff. I would just put a question mark on the 5% fee thing. I assume if Mickey has seen the deck, look, too many assumptions for me to make. It sounds strange that they're making 5% if everything advertised has not been, and it's unclear. So Too many questions for me on that.
How do you
Specific
pitch the
aspect.
deck and not say how you're making the money, and he has to guess how they're making money? That seems kind of odd.
Or maybe he knows that they are making or will make 5%, but can't say it publicly. So he's saying he's heard that they are kind of making 5% off the volume. I don't know. Don't want to speculate too much, but the number has to have some kind of meaning.
I heard they're taking the money out the back like FTX and trading it on Binance. Just want to put that out there. I heard rumors.
Rumors. Too many rumors in this story so far. Brad, what's kind of catching your attention at the moment? Anything real? Any rumors your side? What's exciting you?
Fantasy Top is gaining traction again. I've been playing this whole time, but it's starting to pick up a little bit of volume. The other thing, which again I tell you guys I'm not doing any of the market shit, is I just told the transactions coming out of Legendary's several wallets on blast. 17,000 transactions, people. 17,000, and you don't run a bot, right?
Nope. And
Yeah,
10K
that's
of
fucking
them were on
ridiculous.
a ledger. 10K were on a
That's
ledger.
ridiculous. Yeah. So what's like, dude, I'm nerd fighting. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm writing synopsis. I'm trying to guess where the future of this shit's going. Arguing with, Jesse from Base and trying to get in with the guys, the researchers of Ethereum. I don't know. That's more fun for me right now. I don't care about the market.
So 2 questions based on your aggressive sleuthing capabilities. When you compare Legendary's behavior on chain to a normal person's, what would like
absurd.
A normal person do? And then
Dude, he's magnitudes higher. I would know hundreds of transactions. He's doing 17,000. Like that's fucking like it's a bulk in like 1 or 2 wallets, 2 wallets mostly. But yeah, relative to like everyone else, even with an embedded wallet, like even if you're doing like a fantasy top thing, you're still probably only looking like 1,000, 2,000. And that's an aggressive person. Like I bet my wallets have 150, 250, something like that.
I think you don't do enough of the gambling ones though. Brett, that's
For sure. Yeah. Because I have all this shit tagged. So I go in there and it's just like YOLO games.
There you go. That's where it reveals itself. But look, I always like hearing statistics like that because, when we do media, traditionally maybe media was done by people who are outside of the industry, right? They're like reporting inside. They might have an interest. They might have some type of affiliation with an industry, but they're on the outside. Whereas, I don't know, I just like it a lot that we're properly participants in the things that we're trying to talk about. So I love it from that perspective. Maybe a final question for you, Brad, before we hit the discussion point for the day is, you're getting into a lot of online spats at the moment, really trying to get into the heart of what's going on with
discourse.
Yeah, that's the diplomatic way to put it. Trying to find out what the course for maybe Ethereum is versus these other things. Give us a like TLDR on where you are with that at the moment and how people are having that conversation.
If you guys like, I wrote actually a thread that summarizes it pretty well. The one that has Max Resnick from Bankless. I listened to that podcast, summarized it, gave my own thoughts. It's basically just that like everything's gonna have L2s, everything's gonna have whatever. So like this chasm that is being faced by Ethereum, where people are leaving the main net to go to L2s, and then L2s kind of having their way with mainnet, like that relationship, like that's gonna exist for everyone. And I think where Ethereum fucked up is that they explicitly said, everyone get the fuck off L1, go to L2s, start playing on L2s. And the fact is, it takes a long time to spin up enough L2s to balance the loss of users and fees on mainnet to like make that economically feel not shitty. Bitcoin's going to do it. It's already starting to do it. Ethereum's now like the leading in the charge. Solana's already starting to get L2s and network extensions, whatever you want to call them. So I think honestly, the thing is just you need to make L1 inhabitable for people, right? So that you just don't tell everyone to fuck off of mainnet, make it usable so that L2s can grow enough and slowly add to the system. And I think that's like that mental shift, which is what Solana's doing. Solana's like, we want everything to be here. So everything is going to be here. People are going to stay here. We're going to try and scale as much as we can to make it like inhabitable for you guys. And L2s will come as they already are. Grass is spinning up one. Zeta Markets is spinning up one. They'll come. And the whole parasitic L2 thing is only there because like they absorb users. But if Solana continues to scale, continues to make it habitable for people, they'll stay there. And then those L2s will come and they will get the next marginal user as opposed to sucking users from mainnet and their fees, right? So that's the balance. So for Ethereum, it just means issue some roadmap items or push roadmap items that continue to make L1 inhabitable for people. So that's
It's
block
just
time
like
shorter.
balance the books a little bit. It's like rather
Yeah.
than push everything and direct everyone out, like look,
Yeah.
let's just make this place a little bit better. Of course, there'll still be L2s. Those ones are going to keep pushing. There will be more coming to market, but let's just try to balance the books a touch. What do you think of this question from Crypto Mochus Bread, where he asks you, what do you think of the criticism that ETH as L1 is not benefiting from L2's traction? Are there any plans to do something from what you've kind of
Yeah.
seen?
So it does benefit. So like it does, right? L2 does a thing. It's just
In
that
what
the
way?
fact, because L2s have to settle to Ethereum, right? So for every transaction on L2s, there is something that is given to L1. The problem is, like, for every one user, like, right, if I do something on mainnet, you get 100% of my fees, my everything. It goes into the mainnet ecosystem, it burns. If I do that same thing on L2, you're getting like 1/1000th of my economic contribution to Ethereum mainnet, which is fine, right? But if you talk in scales of tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of users, then it's fine, because now 1/1000th of a billion users, you're still burning a shit ton. It's all settling to ETH, whatever. The problem is that we don't have enough users in aggregate to sustain everyone just fucking off and going to L2s. L2s are not putting enough throughput through to go back to mainnet. So like he's asking, like, are they parasitic? That's the thing. Are L2s parasitic? Right now they kind of are, but it's only because Ethereum's thing is just like Justin Drake straight up just said, like, if you're going to build an app, don't build it on mainnet. Fucking don't. There's no home for you here. Go to L2. Not the right message, right? We don't have enough people to like totally do that. Stay here as one way, whatever, do some stuff. Maybe plan for some L2 migration long in the future whenever congestions are ridiculous, but like don't fucking push people away. So Ethereum is looking to scale the L1, right? I said block times is a thing. They're going to do this multiple concurrent proposers thing, which kind of makes like mitigates some MEV. So like there are things on the roadmap, but iteration times is like every 6 months, every year. That like you get 2 updates a year, so you got to make sure you hit the right stuff, prioritize the right stuff.
The question I have on this though is that, look, I know that it's almost like when you let the genie out of the bottle, in a sense. It's like, well, okay, now that it's been done, I know maybe they shouldn't have pushed so aggressively all in one go, but the thing's been done. And so the comparison will always be for any person looking to deploy anywhere. Take ourselves, for example, as people who might not launch like a traditional NFT collection, but we've got some plans of like considering how to go on chain, right? And this simple question is like, what's best for the user now? And cost is always going to be like one of the key components of what's best for the user. And if it's going to always be so significantly less, and it's going to be faster, it's going to be cheaper, how do you kind of row it back? Do they have to specialize? I mean, even a lot of DeFi is moving over to L2s. Like Aave doing all kinds of running all kinds of stuff on base. They're opening up on all the other L2s as well. So I don't know. Do you see where I'm struggling here, Brad?
Yeah. So what you were getting at there is that there's 100% overlap in what Ethereum offers and what L2s offer, right? 100%. There's no, and where it should be a 25, a 50% overlap, where you say like L2s have at this point, like base has garnered enough trust and enough goodwill, and people believe it's credibly neutral enough that they're willing to deploy 100% of their funds over there. Where like if you really understand these things, it's mainnet is maximally decentralized. Mainnet has like premium, like it's kind of like the Bitcoin thing, right? If you, Bitcoin is the super premium block space. You want maximum decentralization, you want censorship resistance, you want all this shit, right? That should take place on mainnet. And then like the low cost stuff, by like so like DeFi positions, tens of thousands, $100,000, probably on mainnet, because not doing it every 5 seconds, and if they scale it further, like you can actually do that a little quicker. Then like do that there, and then buy your coffees on base, do your open conditions on base, do like whatever. And then now you have those two things separated from each other. ETH is premium, base and L2s are additive, right? They're added. We don't want to buy a coffee on mainnet. So that's how the relationship should be, with a little bit of overlap in the middle, right? Whatever. But right now everyone's like, fuck, I'll just go meme coin with 100% of my funds on base. Like I don't have to do shit on mainnet. And that, like, you don't want that, right? People are trusting the entirety of their stuff. So they need to continue to scale ETH, so that like you want to bring the high value stuff and do the open edition mints for like our show. Boom, do that on L2. It belongs on L2, but Maybe if you want to do artifacts, like premium NFTs, you want that on mainnet because you have all the securities. You don't know if Base is going to blow up because the government goes after it in three months. You know they can't stop Ethereum. They might be able to fuck up Base. So like, yeah.
I like it. I like that idea, but maybe that's one of the things that I don't know if people have been as vocal about. Just like, look, premium
Now
stuff.
we are. That's what I'm doing.
There we go. Premium stuff on mainnet, more consumer, quick stuff elsewhere. Great discussion. Legendary. Do you have any reflections from your side on this, or should we keep it moving?
I think we could discuss the entire show on that topic because I find it so interesting, but we also have a good amount of news to touch on. So let's keep it moving, maybe.
Okay. I thought that was a great discussion, and people in the YouTube comments seem to like it too. So appreciate that. Hope that was interesting. Let's get into the first discussion point for today, which is, I don't know, maybe we need to break this across the week because there's various points to it. I kind of want to address it quite specifically. This is from a series of points from Paul Graham on how to raise money, which I think is interesting to everyone always, not just in this space and not just like internet entrepreneurs, but anyone, because we're all trying to figure out how to kind of better ourselves in some way in that respect. I'm just going to share it on the screen for people who are watching in on YouTube and watching in on Twitter video as well. Here's a few points. So it's kind of like a 5-6 part piece. It starts with the basics, then goes into effective fundraising strategies, goes into managing the process, preparing for fundraising, what to avoid, and looking ahead. I thought maybe we'd deal with the basics and effective fundraising strategies at the moment. Maybe I'll zoom in a touch. Legendary, it looked like you were struggling reading this. I don't know if I can zoom in anymore. So starting with the basics. Fundraising is hard in both senses. Hard like lifting a heavy weight and hard like solving a puzzle. His suggestion is be in fundraising mode or not. Do not mix the two. Get introductions to investors. Cold emails rarely work. Treat investors as saying no until they explicitly say yes. Just starting with the basics, Legendary, coming to you first. What do you like about these strategies for raising money? What do you disagree with? I've got some which I agree with, some which I disagree with there. What are your thoughts?
Maybe on the third point, get interest to investors. Cold emails rarely work. Yes and no. Obviously, it's better if you have an intro and you can connect to someone to have a call. But on the other hand, loads of VCs have a screening process, have a section where you can upload your documents and send them through. And I've seen people reaching out to VCs cold and getting an opportunity to talk to them like that. So I wouldn't ignore a VC just because you don't manage to get an intro to them if you think it fits your demographic, it fits their investment scope, etc. And they have a streamlined process for that. I wouldn't ignore that. Be in fundraising mode or not, like, I don't know, this is maybe more of a general gripe with Paul Graham, that everything has to be a mode. There's a founders mode, fundraising mode. That's just the terminology that
I agree
find
with that so much. Yeah.
a bit cringe. And treat investors as saying no until they explicitly say yes. Maybe I would be a bit hard on that. And even if they say yes, like we know it from our own deal flow, like we had projects saying yes, they want to work with us, they want to sponsor the modern market, whatever, and then they kind of disappear. Like actually treat an investment as an investment once you have the deal signed, once the money is flowing your way, and once you actually can see the funds moving.
Yeah, I mean, until the money's in the bank, that's my take. My take on any deal is like until the money's in the bank or until the thing, even if it's signed, it's not done. Things that if something is signed, it is not done. Money needs to be in the bank or the place it needs to be, or the deliverables need to be delivered. Brad, you
I don't
want to
think
come in
he's.
first?
Yeah, he's just not talking about crypto. And like I made a tweet last week, like just a quick story about something. Like
Yeah, go for it.
I'm building an app, right? We're building an app that it breaks some shit. So I need help from wallet teams, right? I talked to I'll say it, Consensus. I talked to Consensus, MetaMask, right? Them. I'm like, you guys need to fix your wallet because we're doing something that is legitimate, but it's not supported. And they're like, yeah, and like we have a workaround, not safe, whatever. So I'm like, I need you guys to support this as a thing so we could do this. And they're like, and we have a workaround. It's not safe. Don't do it. And it's like, yeah, definitely not safe. Definitely don't make your users do that. Like, awesome. We agree. It's like, but we're also not going to support you. I was like, that's fucked up. And then they're like, but are you raising? And they just straight up asked me if they wanted to give me money. Yeah. And I was like, It's like I'm trying to build this fucking thing, and like, yeah, sure, maybe if you like give me money and then support me, like I'll do it. But like, yeah, they cock block me and then just like,
That's called
do
aligning
you want some money?
interests, Brad. That's called
Yeah, it's
aligning
fucked up.
interests.
Yeah, I'm getting dicked over by, yeah.
You're supposed to
But anyways,
align
not
your
hard. I
interests
was
before.
not even trying, and they're just like, "You want money though?"
Yeah, do you
Okay.
know why they offer you money? This is the way it works. They offer you money, you take 500K for them, and then they were like, yes, actually, we can implement that
Oh,
solution.
look, it just went
It's
up on
going to be
the
500K in dev efforts, and you guys really put
It'll hit
in
the next sprint. Yeah, weird.
Yeah, those things do happen. I believe that is called aligning interests. But yeah, look, that's one of the challenging things. One of the things that I wanted to say on this, yeah, I definitely agree on like the deal needing to be done. I completely agree with Legendary's thing on the fundraising mode. I just think it's a very luxurious position to be in to say like, look, I am fundraising, and then next month I am now not fundraising. I just don't think it's realistic. Remember, we tried this Legendary for a bit, where in Q2 I was like, yeah, we're signing the partners for Q3, as if when Q3 starts, we're not going to be signing people or like not going to be looking. It's just not realistic. Like, okay, in an ideal world, if we literally were, I give the analogy of us being like a sports team. Maybe if you're a sports team, you sign your partners for the season, right? And you do that before the season. But we're just not a sports team yet. So like at some point in time, maybe we'd have the luxury to say, look, if you're not signed by September, you're out. But it's just not realistic at this point in time. So we're happy to, keep signing people as we go. And that's what works. So I do think that is important. The other thing I'd say on the getting introductions to investors, cold emails really work. I really feel that. Like, I think cold emails are completely useless. The thing that I would actually rather do than do the cold email is almost do some cold emails to the people who might be able to do a warm introduction and rather go that way, because the cold email is so useless. I'd rather do additional messages to someone who knows the person in order to get a warm introduction. That would be what I would do. Legendary, what do you think about that? Have you ever done that? Is that me just being completely over the top?
Oh, you can definitely find someone who knows someone, especially if it's a
Well, that's
small.
what I mean. That's
But
what I'd much rather do.
I still wouldn't say that cold emails are worthless. I mean, again, there's this processes. I know companies who got into touch with VCs like that, reaching out out completely coldly. And I'd say before you don't find anyone and go like over a chain of 5 people, intro me to this person who can intro me to that person who can intro me to the VC, and waste your time like that. Just try to hit the VC up first and see what comes from that.
Like it. We're going to get into the headlines in a bit, but just seeing we've got NFT Stats with us on stage. Sam, welcome to the stage, my friend. It's been a while to have you on the show with us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this raising money strategy when it comes to the basics. Are we off base at all with any of these ideas? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Man, I gotta confess, I didn't even know I was on stage. I thought I just
Sam, I honestly, every time I come to you after you haven't been on the show for a while, it's like a gamble for me to know whether you definitely know you're here or not.
hit me up on WhatsApp, man. So I've kind
Goofball.
of, but I feel like I only kind of have picked up on like about half the conversation. And is it basically talking about how difficult it is to raise money right now, or is there more nuance going on?
Well, it's more considering like when people are trying to raise money, is it fine to be trying to raise money in perpetuity? Should it be like, so Paul Graham in this essay that or these notes that were shared said like, you want to be in fundraising mode, but if you're not doing that, then just focus on something else and just stop. Is that like a reasonable distinction to make, or is it just not realistic?
I mean, I think, we certainly, when I was at Uber, there, we were fundraising for 7 consecutive years. It was always going on because the strategy was to burn money. Like it was the strategy was balance sheet warfare. And I think no one has done balance sheet warfare in the way that we did at Uber, which I never was like comfortable with. I thought it was terrible from a shareholder perspective, but somehow, managed to work decently well, and the stock has done pretty well. I mean, especially since the CEO was replaced. But I think I think there's always this assumption, certainly in the startup world, that like, and I imagine from Paul Graham, I imagine from his perspective as a VC, he's just seen tons of companies run out of money, and and then say they couldn't, and say I wish I had raised money when the market was more bullish or something like that. So my guess is that's the kind of prior that he's the kind of prior experience that he's taking that view on. I was always uncomfortable with it at Uber, like, and maybe that's why I was not CEO. And I think, generally speaking, especially in crypto, it's the flip side is it's just hard for investors to have confidence in a lot of these companies, because so many, if the markets aren't hot, and if, especially in the crypto space, like if the TGE market isn't performing, you don't always have an off ramp. So I think that is the flip side of this is like, people aren't entitled to investors' money. And if you have a business that over time will generate cash flow for investors, it will not be hard to raise money. So I think sometimes there is a bit of entitlement around it without realizing that. My guess is that the asset class as a whole hasn't performed tremendously well. And in that universe where things aren't popping off, you have to really make it very clear why investors are going to get their money back over time. I personally am like very reluctant to be writing checks right now, and it's mainly just because I've lost money in the checks I've written. So you can obviously have something like Portal that completely pops off, but Portal, if they were to raise money today doing what they did, would not return money for shareholders. That was just a moment in time. They just caught a wave, and I think what ends up happening is you get some things like that, and then for the next 6 months, people say, "Oh, well, it could be the next Portal," without realizing that what happened was like very unique to that moment in time and that wave that was ridden, that no longer exists. So I don't know. That's a bit of a ramble. I am sorry. I literally came in the thing and it put me straight to stage. But yeah, I'm honored. It's always fun to be here.
Appreciate you, man. Excellent insight as always. Love your stories from like how things kind of played out at Uber. Always very, very insightful. Appreciate you, man. Let's get into the headlines finally then. We've kind of delayed a little bit today, having some interesting discussion on a variety of things. Let's start with the Tether news. I think let's go in that direction. As I said, like price action has been fairly calm. So kind of getting these interesting stories of what Tether is doing its money. So Tether addresses 102 million agricultural investment. The land is a crucial asset class. They say the quick take is this is reported by The Block. Tether has quietly invested $102 million since July, buying 9.8% of the shares of Adecoagro, a NASDAQ-listed agricultural giant which operates in South America. Argentina's main producer of milk and rice, also produces sugarcane in Brazil and other crops against Argentina and Uruguay. A Tether spokesperson said the investment in land, an inherently scarce, crucial asset class that provides long-term yield, complements the company's prior investments in gold and Bitcoin. Going to stop there for now as I kind of just scan the article for any other interesting details. But Brett, at the top of the show, when I first said it, you had some comments here. What are your thoughts on Tether's $100 million investment into agriculture in South America?
Yeah, I'm just happy to see that they're diversifying, right? They're huge owners of U.S. debt. They're now owners of other foreign debt and whatever stakes in these companies. Like it's just same with anything else, right? It's what you consolidated positions to generate, to gain wealth, and then diversified positions to maintain and preserve wealth. They have sufficiently gained wealth. I think we can all say that. And now they're diversifying so that they can preserve their position. It's good for our industry that, well, assuming they don't fucking explode, it's good for our industry if they are now having their tendrils in a bunch of different nations doing a bunch of different stuff, because then everyone is incentivized to make sure that they continue to grow. Now, like, there's like the question mark stuff of like, Tether's always had a question mark on it. All of its stuff is done on Tron. Like, there's a lot of like layered shit. Hopefully it holds up. But it probably speaks to hardening a little bit.
It's funny how basically with everything in the space, like even if something sounds really good, it's just like, well, assuming it doesn't blow up, and then you have to give the rest of your analysis. But I take your point. We have to make that point first. Just a few more interesting details that I've just read, and then we'll come to Legendary for his thoughts. Tether in April announced plans to reorganize their company into 4 divisions: I didn't know about this. So these are the 4 divisions. Tether Finance to manage the USDT stablecoin. Tether Data to manage its investments in Bitcoin mining. Tether, I think there's a typo here, a different Tether entity to oversee strategic investments in technology companies, and Tether Edu to spearhead educational initiatives. It is not immediately clear which division oversaw this investment because it doesn't fit into any of those buckets. Don't know why I found that funny. It is kind of funny though. Legendary, what are your thoughts on either the way they're splitting this up, the fact that they're going into this market, and maybe some of the general question marks people have on Tether?
Yeah, let's add a couple more details, a bit more color to that investment. If you look at the website of Adecoagro, they are saying that they have 2 plants for milk that are one is able to produce 550,000 liters, that's 145k in gallons of milk per day, also do cheese, etc., and the other one does 360k output in terms of liters per day.
I like
also it. The company is active in Brazil, as you said. There is a sugarcane, there's an ethanol business there, but they're also getting into energy, and they've been getting into energy since actually for the last 19 years. So that is more than just agriculture. It's also like a play at being at the heart of the energy market, which kind of makes sense if you think about like the size of Tether and the energy intensity of what they are doing. Also, adding to that, I think if they're having and building out those 4 divisions, and they're like building this insanely large investment portfolio, as we said, like they put the profits to use to buy BTC, to buy gold, to do those investments, might also be a reputational move. There's still the FUD around Tether. How is it backed? Is it really backed? Is it going to be MiCA compliant with the European Union, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? But if you then start to like hold major strategic positions and shares in companies, that will also help you deflect that FUD a bit and just showcase your size and be like, look, even if someone's doubting that they have enough money, they have a shit ton of equity in publicly traded companies that itself is worth a lot of money. Obviously, those 100 mil is nothing, is a very small sum compared to the volume that Tether is handling. But I do think that it's more than just a strategic investment. It definitely has a publicity component to it. I'm not saying they're doing it for the publicity, but there is definitely something that, puts Tether in a different light, because otherwise when we would be talking about Tether, we would say they're not MiCA compliant. There's more FUD on the timeline. There's this and that happening. Like we rarely report on positive or interesting Tether news, and now we have something to report on.
Brad,
Fun facts. Yeah, I ran the numbers on how much they actually fucking make. This show's been going for 45 minutes, roughly. In the time since we started this show, they've made $417,000.
Well, that was my initial response, or my initial thought is like, look, if I'm giving them US dollars, all that matters is, and they're giving me Tether, all that matters is that they give me my US dollars back when I give them the Tether back. Like that is all that matters. The last thing I want is my bank to be going investing in land. But the fact is they made $4.5 billion in profit in the first quarter. And this is a drop in the, not in the first quarter, in the last quarter. So this is like a drop in the bank relative, a drop in the bucket relative to the amount of money they have. The second thing I'm thinking is the last thing a shareholder is investing in Tether for is to get access to farmland, like or to agriculture.
Speak for yourself, Sam.
Why would
Speak
they
for yourself? I do.
What?
I'm very interested. I'm a farm man. That's where I come from, and that's where I want to put my money back. So that's when I think of that, I think of Tether, and that's how I want my exposure.
I mean, but like if you want that, you can get that without going through Tether. But then the flip side of that is I don't even think they have shareholders. So like this is certainly not a publicly traded company. So the issues that like kind of jump to mind for me, like one is depositor integrity, and that doesn't feel like it's that relevant because they have so much profit. And then the second is shareholder integrity, and I don't even think they have shareholders. And I'm sure that if the amount of shareholders they have, they can discuss this with, and and say that hey, we're moving towards a little bit of a fund structure. So I don't know. I guess As long as depositor integrity isn't at risk if the price of these assets go down, you don't. There are some, like, there are firms that are investment companies, and then there are firms that like have a very clear competitive advantage that has nothing to do with their investments. And I think it's important to know which one of them you are, but at the same time, they have so much profit and so few shareholders that whatever.
So few shareholders, barely any employees as well. I don't know if there's anyone with any oversight in this company. It's just like a few people sitting around in a room, slowly picking off the world's assets. Brad.
There's supposed to be another announcement coming in a week. It was supposed to come on 9/9. He said it got pushed to 9/6. That's Paolo, the founder of Tether.
Yeah, just one additional point from this block article right at the end. It says, yes, we've already touched on the $5.2 billion in profit over the first half of 2024, but it will also be doubling its workforce, which I think has famously been so outrageously small that it's just like a crazy amount of profit per employee, at least up until this point. So they are growing.
Just add real quick to that. It's a bit older, the stat, but I remember reading it and I just looked it up again. It was about the Q4 2023, so a year ago, when they had 2.85 billion in profit. And Selkis back then said that Tether's net profits are 10% of JP Morgan's. Back then, Tether had like 50 employees and JPM had 250,000 employees, just to put the money printing machine once more into relation.
Wild business model. I keep saying stablecoin is the best business model. We need to figure out how to do this. Before we get into the final headline and Web3 Roundup, Funky, your hand is raised. Welcome to the stage, my friend. What's your put a bow on this topic for us?
Jam fam, just wanted to make a quick comment. I can't still help but wonder how much of the Tether FUD hatred, whatever you want to call it, is just stems from like xenophobia. Is it because it comes out of China? People don't like it, except for your boy Fred Krueger. I don't know if you saw the post today. He basically said that like Bitcoin's the asset, and the only other good thing is Tether, because then I can swap from Bitcoin to Tether and Tether to Bitcoin. So I can't help but wonder that even right now in the Polkadot Treasury, we're having an issue where everybody keeps requesting USDC, and we're almost running out of USDC, but we still have like millions of USDT, and people are just reluctant for some reason.
Just don't want it.
And I wonder if it is just a Western mindset, like USDC is safe, USDT cannot be trusted. I do wonder if it's something as simple as that.
It's kind of funny though, because like you can just take it and swap it if you want. Like if it's in the treasury, just swap it after if you really need to. But no, I take your point. I think that's a reasonable question mark. But yeah, I actually did see that post from Krueger earlier today, and I guess interesting that he was kind of picking Tether instead of USDC. But look, let's keep it moving. We've got one more thing maybe to cover briefly on today's show, but let's do the Web3 Roundup first to get you up to speed with everything else that's been happening in the space in the last 24 hours. We have number one, crypto equities last week was worst of the year. Coinbase went down 20% in a week. I only realized that at the end of the week. I'm kind of holding Coinbase pretty chilled. I didn't realize it was 20%, not particularly worried, but that is what happened. The Schwab Asset Management Crypto-Themed ETF, STCE, which includes MicroStrategy, Marathon Digital, Riot Blockchain, and Coinbase fell 11% last week. Another piece of news, Pump Fund monthly revenue overtook ETH monthly revenue. Also, Rune 2 on the Bitcoin side, decentralized team announced the Rune will go full decentralized, i.e. no more building from the team. The token price went down 20 as a consequence. Ripple CEO predicts big demand for yen stablecoins. I do think we'll see more stablecoins in general. They are the best business model in the world after all. So I suspect more will continue to come on chain when they figure out how to be compliant. Pudgy Penguin issues soul-bound token to 1,000-day holders. That must be pretty fun to receive in your wallet if you're one of the loyal holders. Frentech appears to be shutting down as no fees from its smart contracts are routed to its dev team anymore, to Bread's severe sadness. And finally, NFT lender loses 500K on
Amashi sadness. You see his numbers?
Down 16 mil, no?
Yeah, out of like a 16.7 investment. He said he's not done though. I was seeing some images sent around that are like, crescendos coming. So maybe he's got some plans. I don't know. He's got still like buying. 9 projects going. So
still buying. My God. And finally, NFT lender loses $500,000 on Chromie Squiggle and friendship bracelet loans. We've spoken about this bad debt that you can monitor should you wish at Snow Genesis. fundraising.com. That's the place where you can kind of aggregate the various loans that have been taken out, whether it's on Gondi, Niftify, Arcade, or wherever, MetaStreet. You can go to Snow Genesis and see what's going on. And yeah, a lot of loans were defaulted in the last few days. We had the big CryptoPunk 20 default last week, which were all sold as an auction, the biggest kind of CryptoPunk auction taking place last week. And then, you know, there's more assets as well. Chromie Squiggle was pretty down bad based on where people were giving loans. So people were giving loans at around 7 ETH a while ago, and the fraud's down to 4. So a lot of defaults.
Generic question: are punks an ambition buy for you guys at all?
It is for me. Like,
I think it is for me too.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I've held one, and it was purely for a flip. I flipped one in like 10 hours because one completely randomly one day was listed on Blur, and I for some reason had the ETH like just sitting there, and so I bought it. I think it was 42 and flipped it for 50 in 10 hours or something like that, because for whatever reason the person listed it really low. But yeah, I've noticed people kind of question it and say that maybe, you know, the younger generation is not going to come to buy your bags, and that kind of outlook. That's like, I don't know, because deep down I kind of want one still. What's your thinking, Brett?
No, same. I'm not even a particular like JPEG max. Like I got a few JPEG bags, like isolated, like I think 3 or 4 projects total. And then yeah, I think in the back of my head, I want to punk.
Legendary, you're out though, aren't you? You're not interested.
Yeah, you know me. I'd like one for access to the events, but not in particular to rep it as a PFP.
I don't know that I'd rep it. But I think I want one. I still feel like they're culturally significant, and I
definitely are. Yeah. Not disputing that. It's just not one of my ambitions. Talking about ambitions, one sentence real quick. We have 800 people watching this show live today, 680 of which watching one of the video streams, 120 on the spaces. That is a pretty big number to start the week.
I thought the way you introduced that, I thought you were going to say that is the official record.
Yeah, like,
like that is
a big number. That's higher than say 500.
I mean, 550 is the average that we typically get, right? But the thing is, we had the Azuki FUD spaces and other things where like shit went south, where we had like a couple thousand listeners in. So it's not a record. It's definitely a record for a regular show where there's not an imminent catastrophe happening in the market.
Non-catastrophe record.
Yeah,
we need to update our documents to say what the non-catastrophe record is. Look, final few minutes just to get you up to speed. The final piece of news that we thought was relevant today, given how important prediction markets seem to be everywhere and all the time now, is that Kalshi was cleared to offer congressional prediction markets in victory against the CFTC. So Kalshi is a US regulated prediction market platform. It won its federal lawsuit against the CFTC over a plan to offer contracts on which party will control each House of Congress after the November elections. Basically like a prediction bet. The CFTC could appeal Kalshi, which had been locked out of this year's election betting boom while the case was pending. But now it can grab a sliver of that action in the last 2 months before the election. So
they were the company that had Market Maker too. They had an official market maker with like a major, like $100 million deal or some shit for them to actually market make their markets.
Interesting. So people seem to be reporting on this pretty positively. Maybe it's just bullish for prediction markets. I also saw some content last week or the back end of last week suggesting that betting, maybe I'm not going to say that. I think it's probably wrong. But just throw it to you guys. What do you think on this? Is this just broadly good for prediction markets? Does it have any implications for the crypto prediction markets, which we are kind of participating in? What are your thoughts, Brad?
It's good that things are landing on our side. I would consider this on our side, even though they're not like strictly a smart contract platform doing whatever. But it's still, yeah, government has traditionally just been not kind of a bunch of douches, frankly. And like it's good to see that like, okay, like people are still trying to do stuff the right way and they're winning, and like the courts are siding with, the actual products. So that's good. If you want to bring innovation back to America, you need to kind of keep seeing this stuff. It's also question, like, I didn't realize they were boxed out entirely of the prediction markets for election stuff, and I wonder if maybe we're seeing some artificial inflation on like poly market because some of these other players have been boxed out and we didn't even realize it. So it's just everything is like condensed into poly market because that's the only outlet for a few some bettors. I don't know.
That's a great point. That's a really, really good point. If traditional methods just were not allowed to do this specific thing, which very well might be
we
the
don't know
case.
how big Kalshi was before, right? So like maybe they never had a presence in that market anyways, but like if they did.
I like that thinking. Legendary, do you have any thoughts on that or any other concluding thoughts as we bring today's show to a close?
Yeah, I think it's interesting from a tax perspective as well, because we on the show with G Money we kind of spoke about the fact you can take financial bets on what interest rates are doing. Is there going to be a cut? What is the job market doing, et cetera, et cetera? And some of the bets would be a bit more difficult to structure in traditional markets. And then I'm starting to think, depending on the jurisdiction where you're in, this could be a very, very different case tax-wise. For example, Austria, if you have digital shares that are like basically a derivative on typical stocks, they are not capital gains, they are taxed as income tax. However, gambling is tax-free. If someone makes the case that poly market as a prediction market is still gambling, and you take a bet that I know the S&P 500 is going to do this and that by the end of the year in terms of performance, can you actually get a long position that is classified as gambling that's tax-free? I think it's not only interesting for the crypto markets, but the classification of prediction markets will play a huge role in how to tax them across different jurisdictions.
I like it. I like that thinking a lot. That's just excellent insight to bring today's show to a close. But that is the end of today's show. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, just remember, we do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour. We're live on X. We're live on YouTube, published to Spotify and Apple Podcast too. Just a reminder, as we got a little bit more technical towards the end, the show is not financial advice. It's not accounting advice. It is just broadcasting advice. Listen to the show, like our content, subscribe to us on YouTube. Have a wonderful day. Thank you to Legendary and Bread for being fantastic co-host. Thanks to Stats and Funky for contributing as always. Take care. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.